Hey guys, this is Rebecca from Inbox Academy, and today we are chatting with one of our students in Inbox Academy, Molly. Hi, Molly.
Hey.
We are so excited that you wanted to jump on here with us today. I've obviously gotten to see tons of your posts and, your story, your wins, things like that. But before we get all into that, I was wondering if maybe you would want to let our viewers here know just a little bit about you. You can go as deep as you want or keep it just to what you were doing before email marketing, whatever works for you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. So I live in the Pacific Northwest. I've been married almost 20 years and I have four kids. Our oldest just went off to college. And I used to be a teacher. That's what my degree is in. I was early childhood elementary ed. And I taught up until our youngest was born. Then I was doing private tutoring and been doing freelance writing off and on for a lot of years, but really got into copywriting like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
So
And you just started off with what kind of stuff with copywriting? What kind of projects were you doing?
So I was kind of following Sarah Turner's program, and then I was writing blogs, doing a little bit of website copy, and a couple of little email projects, which I really enjoyed. But I didn't feel like I felt most comfortable with blogs because they just felt straightforward to me, and that's the copywriting I had done in the past. So when I was doing some email projects for a couple of clients early on, I really enjoyed them, but I didn't feel like I certainly couldn't specialize in them at that point, but I liked them. I liked the style, the format. So yeah, when Sarah shared Inbox Academy through her email list, I was like curious right away.
Yeah. So what drove you to do, because right, you're super busy. You have four kids. What drove you to consider freelancing?
So when my youngest started kindergarten, I decided to take writing seriously. I was not doing any kind of copywriting at that point. I was doing like my own personal blog. Creative nonfiction is really like what I love to write.
Mm.
So he went off to kindergarten, and I thought, okay, I have a chance. I have some hours in the day, the small window where they were on different school start times and end times. So the window of actual available time was pretty short, but I felt like, okay, I can use this time to, pursue something that I really love to do. And then his kindergarten year was COVID. And so that changed everything. We started homeschooling after that, like traditional homeschooling when things were kind of shut down after the online year, and then had a couple of years of just a couple of big family crises, and things just kind of went wonky. And so 2 years ago, it was like felt like things had settled down, life was stabilized, and then by that point, we were looking at colleges with my daughter, looking at the cost of college, and
Cheap.
that's what. So I was thinking, well, I'm either gonna start substitute teaching. Felt like I was ready to be done with private tutoring, but I thought I'm either going to start substitute teaching or pursuing writing in a different way that could be more profitable more quickly, as opposed to kind of my own personal creative nonfiction. So I had an ad pop up for Sarah Turner's course and talked to a friend and said, like, I don't know, I'm curious about this. Is this legit? And she's a copywriter. So I was like, have you ever heard of this? And she said, yeah, that's like how I built my business. And so anyway, that was sort of the beginning
Yeah.
of all of that.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in Inbox Academy that started with Sarah's course, and Sarah's course is amazing for teaching everything when it comes to copywriting. And that's people kind of, find it funny sometimes. They're like, it's interesting that Sarah would promote Inbox Academy, and it's because she knows it's kind of a gap in Write Your Way to Freedom. There's a few lessons on email marketing and there's some basics, but when it goes into learning the back end and all of that, she's like, holy moly, you guys have this down, and I think this is a great thing to offer to my current students so that if they decide at any point I want to go into email marketing, I can point them to that resource. So I love that, because I feel like sometimes in the course world we feel like we're competing with each other, and I don't have the energy for that. Audrey and I started this. We have our own businesses, right, that are successful. So we didn't need to do this, but we just couldn't get over the income that we were getting from doing the
Mhm.
back end of email, and how many rabbit holes we went down and like could we literally like you probably heard this story, but when we had coffee for the first time, we just, like, lost track of time, and we were
Mm.
just, like, chuckling and, like, laughing at all the rabbit holes we went down trying to figure it out and being like, "Why isn't all of this in one spot?" You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, I, like, drove home from the coffee shop, and I was like, "Hey, would you wanna do this with me?" You know?
Yeah.
Like, we could be a
I think
team.
that was such a good idea for you
Yeah.
guys to do this because that's the intimidating part is I think a lot of times, someone who says like, "Well, I'm a writer," almost exclusively would say, "I'm not a techie person." I think, those are different parts of your brain that you're using, and I would definitely not feel like a techie person in any, arena really, but and that so yeah, being like, "Oh, I could write your email and then good luck to you doing something with it." And so, yeah, that for sure was a gap. And it
Did you
doesn't take away.
ever did you just write copy for emails? Okay. Did you ever run into, like, either the client never implementing it, like, never uploading it because they got so busy, or I was gonna ask you, had they, like, done it and then didn't see the results they were looking for and, like, didn't like, they were just disappointed, you know what I mean? Because that's what sucks about not doing the back end is you don't get to make sure it's used correctly or used at all, right?
It was a lack of being used at all. And I felt like, part of me was like, "Well, you paid me for this. Don't you want to do something with it?" And then also for me, I was hoping to see like, how did this work for you? Like I would love to see some results from it. But I guess I would rather know, well, they didn't use it as opposed to they implemented it poorly and then it didn't go well for them
Yeah.
and they were going to blame me for it. So, yeah. And I found that with some other projects too, business owners just being so busy that they never updated their website copy. They never, and I get that, but
Yeah,
like,
that is why, like, the back end stuff is such an amazing offer to business owners because typically, I mean, you're taking something off their plate when they're busy, especially if they don't already have someone doing that for them and they're trying to do it, right? Or someone else from the team is supposed to step in and get these emails sent out, but they're busy. It's just like, I'm making this easier for you. But yeah, I agree with you saying like never being able to see how it did. Like being I have landed some huge clients by just being able to say, like, ethically, right? I landed this really, really, really big company, and it's only because I was able to say, "I just did this campaign over this holiday for this client," and I was able to, like, even say the client's name because they had it in their contract with me. I could use them as a portfolio piece in any way, right? I brought them in, 150K or this whatever over this, like, two-day email sequence. And they were like, "Seriously?" And, like, being able just to say that in a sentence, not even screenshot anything or anything was, like, so good for building trust with my future clients. So, I agree, it's, like, it's super disheartening to write something that you think is amazing, and then you're like, "You didn't even put it in your ESP." You know?
I
Yeah.
know.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, okay, so you were doing copy only. You were dealing with a little bit of those frustrations. You're probably dealing with a little bit of frustration of lower income from that, right? Because copy only, I mean, there's really only so much you can charge for that. So, what kind of led you into considering back end? You had to have been somewhere mentally to read that and be like, this is something that could be right for me.
Yeah. So I was mostly writing blogs and I know some people are really fast blog writers and I know brand to brand, it sometimes it's just like we need this for SEO and sometimes people want to really be promoting it and sharing it. Because I was a writer first on my own, I don't want to write and submit anything that I don't think is excellent. And so it was hard for me to feel like, oh, I'll just do a little rush, not rushed up, but I'm just going to go as quickly as possible through this. That just, I don't know, didn't feel
Yeah.
good to me. And I'm just not a super fast writer. And depending on what the topic was for each client, blogs just kind of felt like slogging through sometimes. And I just didn't want to, continue doing that forever. So I wanted to specialize in something else. And with email, I felt like even though my first couple of projects that involved some email copy nothing wound up happening with them. I did know for myself that it would be frustrating to kind of not have any sense of control over the bigger picture. Like, is this going to be implemented well? Is the design going to be okay? Is it going to be used strategically? And so that appealed to me to be able to say, like, I can I can write this, but I can also really make it work for you. So that's what I wanted to learn how to do.
I don't know about you, but I felt like I needed to see how things converted and like played around with things and A/B tested and like those things that go with doing the back end to really see if I was like, I don't know, it was a confidence booster. Like if my actual copy converts, right? Like, or is there something I'm doing wrong here and I can tell it by the stats and like, oh, I'm going to change that. So like it also helps me to grow as I see how my like, oh, okay, I didn't do really well with this one. Why not? And then I can like look at myself and be, a little constructive in my criticism towards myself and then like move forward. Otherwise, I think I would just like write the same way, like every time if I never saw what happened.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And the just the amount you can invoice a client for taking care of the back end, that was super appealing to me too, because I do have a really busy family life and I don't want to spend more hours than I needed to per week on my business. So that was a big draw for sure. So when you and Audrey sent out the little kind of preview videos, at the bottom you could like click to watch the next one right away. And it was like, watch the next one, watch the next one, watch
Yeah.
the next one. And I was super intrigued and felt like, okay, I think this would be a good fit. But I had made some other recent investments in my business. And I was like, well, I don't know if this is the right time to buy the course. But I was also waiting on a pretty good invoice to come through from a different client. I thought, well, if this comes through before they close, this round of openings, uh, I'll go ahead and buy it. And it came through like the day before you guys were closing. I was like, all right, let's do it. Then I listened to most of the course kind of start to finish like a podcast, just kind of
It was
doing
on the
it was
go. Like you just
yeah,
had
it
your
was the
little
first time I was, like, doing garden stuff and, like,
love it.
driving the kids around, and I was just listening, knowing that I would go back and watch the videos for stuff that I needed the visuals of, and really what that wound up being is just, as I got into different projects, it was like, "Oh, this is pertinent now, I need to see this," and so then I'd click back, but I was getting, the gist of it, and a few of the, like, email building ones I did watch initially the first time through because I just wanted to get my head wrapped around.
Like, how happy it makes me that you were, like, gardening and driving the kids around and listening to it because that is, like, when we started to make it, I was like, these lessons have to be digestible, right? They have to be something people can, like, have on their sink while they're brushing their teeth and doing their makeup or getting ready for the day, or, like, drop the kids off and you're driving home, you put on
Yeah,
another video, and that was, like, the goal there because the truth of the matter is, like, life is busy, and we wanted it to be something that could, like, come into your life and give you this glimpse and then help you as you needed it, not something that you opened up and you were like, "Oh my gosh, every lesson is, like, 2 hours long. Like, how am I ever going to do this?" You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Well, you totally hit that because, yeah, it was just easy. It was just easy. Not easy as in this is such an easy thing to
mhm.
become an expert in, but just easy to, like, start to wrap my head around things, get the information, and imagine like, oh, I can do this. And I think that's something I like about the way you and Audrey present things. You present it in a way that's really approachable and realistic. Realistic in the sense that you can make a lot of money from this. You have to learn it, but it's so learnable. It's so doable. And having gotten to know you just through the calls over the year, it feels true to who you guys have shown yourselves to be. Like this is you're relatable and approachable and you can teach something that's complex in a way that's simple but realistic. And so that just felt like, okay, this isn't like some pie in the sky dream. Like this is so difficult and it's going to be so complicated, but it's also not just like, you know, this easy skill that why did I pay for a course that I could have, done a few Google searches for? Like it's the sweet spot in the middle. It's like I needed this information, but I'm getting it in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming.
Yeah, it's doable,
Yeah.
doable. Oh, that makes me so happy. So you got in the course, you started, working through it, and then did you move into any back-end email work after that?
I'd had pretty good luck with cold emailing when I was just doing mostly focusing on blogs. But after I finished Inbox Academy and decided, okay, I really want to be pitching email, I had like a really great week of cold emails where I sent out 30 and I got 4 calls booked within like 3 days.
Amazing.
And I know it was very exciting. And then 2 of those turned into clients. One of them was for email, one was wound up not being for email. He replied to the email pitch and was like, okay, but actually, what I need is, this for my sales page. And then the other 2 calls went well. One of them wound up not getting approval from to hire someone remotely. They brought someone in to work in their office, and then another just didn't have the budget. But they were all good calls, good experience. And this was like, let's see, I don't know. I hadn't been doing my other copywriting work for more than like 8 months, I think, when I started Inbox Academy. So it's still, pretty new in general.
Yeah.
So that felt like good motivation to have had, you know, a really positive response to that first push reaching out for email. Yeah, one of those clients signed on for email. It wasn't a retainer, but it was a pretty decent project for me to start with. And that was great to feel like just to kind of, get my feet wet and definitely went with your guys' idea of, earn while you learn. And it was like, okay, there were a couple moments where I was like, oh no, I don't know if I'm not sure I totally know what I'm doing well enough. But it was great to have, the community resources within Box Academy to reach out and be like, oh, how do I? And then, easy fixes. And I had given myself a pretty good amount of time to complete the project. They weren't in a big hurry, and that was great. So there wasn't like a panic of quick turnaround time. But that was a really positive first email project.
Yeah. That's why we have the first few modules listed as foundational, and the rest of them are like learn as you go. Like if you need work right now, work through those three, jump to the build your business, get yourself a client, and then as they hire you to do, sequences or projects or retainers, then you jump in those lessons and you learn it as you go. And then you have us, like in real time with live calls or the community for anything that comes up. So it's scary though. It's easier said than done, right? It's
No,
like,
it was really scary. But I felt like you mentioned earlier, like that you would never want to share something that was untrue with a client. And I felt like because I knew the resources I had available through the program and through being able to connect with you and Audrey in the community to get any questions answered, I felt like I could really legitimately say, I can do this for you. And it didn't feel like a stretch, or it didn't feel, even for the very first email project, it didn't feel untruthful at all because I knew I really could. Even though I hadn't done it before, I knew that the gaps that I still had, I could totally get filled through the course, going back or asking you guys questions. And yeah, that's exactly what happened.
yeah, when you're in the course to be able to say, "I can do this for you," it
Mhm.
it it gives you the confidence to say that, and you don't feel like you're being dishonest. You're not like, just like, "Okay, I'll figure it out on Google or whatever." Like, you have a concrete path. Some people are like, "How do I, move into that when, like, I have no experience and I'm a newbie?" And I'm like, "You don't have to reflect on what you have done. You can talk about what you can do. I can do
Right.
this for you," you know? So it's
Yeah.
super powerful. So do you have any more did any more email projects come in after that, or what's your client work looking like right now?
Yeah, yeah. Some more email projects came in. That first one that I did, I think I forgot to mention, that came from that first set of emails I sent out. That first email project more than paid for Inbox Academy. Yeah, so that
Mhm.
was a great feeling. And then I was working still on with some previous clients on blogs, and then some other email stuff came in, and I've had a lot of fun projects and some big projects. I tend to be attracted to reaching out to startups and small businesses and solopreneurs and that kind of thing, and there's not necessarily a big budget with those people, and that has actually wound up being probably a blessing in disguise for me. There were a couple times when I thought, oh, this is about to I'm going to land this retainer. There was a big one last Christmas that I thought, it was a local brand that was expanding really quickly, or so they said. And it was looking like just a whole bunch of green flags. And then I sent in the proposal after what I thought was a good call, although there had been some communication issues between right after the call. And the guy just said he really undervalued my work. And he didn't say he undervalued my work, but his response undervalued my work and said, well, we were hoping to get, all of this done for just basically a fraction of what I was proposing. And it didn't line up with what he had been explaining about their growth and their revenue. And in hindsight, so he wound up ghosting me. I'm glad now looking back that that happened because I think I wanted that retainer so badly that I think I really, had he replied to me again in our back and forth, I think I probably would have really compromised on my pricing. But looking back, it's like, oh, that was a good, like, kind of dodged a bullet there. He turned out to be a person I wouldn't want to work with. And I don't think it would have been a good use of my time. And it certainly wouldn't have put me on a kept me on a path to grow and to like value my work and have a boundary that required other people to value my work. So
Think valuing your work is like it's huge, right? And he could have probably turned into a super draining client and one that you probably would have had to let go, or one that you were doing and then like in the middle of your month you're like, this is not worth it. Like I literally want to pay you to disappear. Like that
like
is that is like how I felt when I've taken, you know, those jobs, and especially when they keep coming back, well, like, could you do this and could you do that? And it's like when you're first starting, it is so, so, so easy to compromise and to like, put down your guard a little bit and like find a middle ground. But yeah, I agree. I think that was a blessing in disguise for you for sure. And also too, like, retainers aren't always the goal for everyone. Like, sometimes we have several students that they love the idea of retainers, and maybe you would still be open to a retainer if that opportunity comes, but you are attracted more towards these businesses that are like, they need these big projects done once, and then they'll maybe come back when they're which honestly, it might end up becoming retainers down the road for you, they need things to their foundation to be built, and they don't have a high budget. But the fact that you're getting so much experience and that that's what you're kind of attracted to right now, it sounds like it feels right for you.
I
Yeah.
like the variety and I like having a lot of control over my schedule
Mm,
and to be able to say like, well, we're going to be gone for these 2 weeks and I don't have to work ahead and I don't
yeah.
have to work while I'm gone. I can just not work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a huge piece for me. But another reason that it's wound up being really great, I think that I haven't wound up with a retainer is right around the time, like a month or so before actually I joined Inbox Academy, a really close family member got a pretty bleak diagnosis
Mm,
and prognosis. So really that first full year in Inbox Academy, I was working, I was doing projects for clients and doing outreach, but the flexibility that came with that and with not having a retainer let me be there for her and her family in a fairly substantial way to help with childcare and meal trains and organizing drives to chemo and that kind of thing. And that looked different as the year went on. I wasn't really going after any retainers at that point because I valued the ability to just be able to, shift my schedule at a moment's notice or take a big chunk off. So, yeah, that was something, that's when you talk about wins, that doesn't feel like a win, obviously, because it was a really hard,
mm.
but it was a huge win personally to not have gotten into something that really didn't allow me the flexibility I wanted.
I'm really sorry that that's happened. Yeah, it's a really hard place to be. Audrey and I both have dealt with some sickness and some family member stuff. Audrey's grandfather just passed away, and that's been really hard too. You got to make those decisions to be present and to support someone that you love, and to be that helping hand, which you're never like to be able to be in that position and do that, you can never get that time back if you chose work instead, right? Like you showed up for somebody, and that those little projects and stuff didn't stop you from doing that. And I think I just think it's a really beautiful perspective because that's real life. Like we get
Yeah.
you know? We get curveballs thrown at us all the time, and sometimes it's not even to do with us, right? This was someone else that was going through a severe thing, and you were able to just come alongside and love this person the way that you felt you should love them. So, yeah, I think that's amazing.
She did wind up passing away about a
Mhm.
year after her diagnosis. And so that was just
Mhm.
a handful of months ago. Thank you. I was in the midst of a big email project for a client at the time when things really kind of took a turn. And this client was so wonderful and so understanding. She was someone who I had been kind of in communication with for a little while before we started a project together, but she's a mom of four. She's a course creator and just, doing her own thing. She doesn't have a team. And the reason I reached out to her initially is just A, I really loved what she was doing, but B, she just seemed like a great person. And I had never been late on a deadline for any client ever. I had never asked for an extension, and things kind of just started shifting in our family. And I told her what was going on, and she was just so gracious and said, like, just like take the whole summer, take all the
Mhm.
time you need. And I didn't need I was near finishing, but I just couldn't finish at the time. And I said, give me a few weeks, I'll get back to you. But she was so wonderful. And I was just really thankful that I was working with someone like her, someone who's so understanding and kind. And, she emailed me a couple times to check in and say, like, I'm praying for your sister-in-law, and I'm just, thinking about you. She's just like a really wonderful person. So I was grateful that I wasn't locked in to a retainer. I wasn't working with someone who was gonna be kind of icky in a tough situation. And I had the space and time that I needed with my family.
And
So
I think that is another, like, a thing that I've encountered too is, like, I've been surprised by how many incredible people that I've come across, like, as clients, like, people that I've actually, like, I have one client that I've been working with for, like, 4 years now, and I love her. Like, I love her as a person. We send each other Christmas gifts. We check in with each other every month for business, and then at the end of our business meetings, we're like, "So, what's really going on in your life? How can I pray for you this month?" or whatever. And I love that. I love it. Like, and that's just one of my clients. And not to, like, take away from what you went through, but when I went through a miscarriage, I really struggled. And I think people think sometimes when that happens, you just kind of like move on and get over it. And oh my gosh, Molly, it took me like 6 months before I could even, like, talk about it and not cry, or walk past a woman with a baby and not just, like, crumble, like, have to run back to my car and sit down and cry. Like, the grief was real, and my I had to just, like, check out of work, and I had retainers too, right? So, like, this wasn't something I could prepare for, right? I didn't, like, a lot of times you think retainers are great because, and they are. Retainers are great for the people that it fits for, that are looking for that. That's fantastic, and retainers really work well for me, but, you can work ahead and take that 2 weeks off when you're planning to go vacation, and it's true. But for my retainers, it was like, and when I had the miscarriage, it's like, I didn't see that coming. That happened at 2 AM in the middle of my bedroom, you know what I mean? Like, and I was not working the next morning, right? To reach out to my few retainers and just be like, "This is what is happening in my life right now. I cannot do anything for you right now. I will, like, let you know when I am in a good space." And, they every single one of them were like, "Please take the time you need. Like,
that's so wonderful.
don't worry about what we're paying for that you can't perform right now. You are an asset to our team. Like, please take the time you need. Like, our emails are not more important than this." And I just thought, like, wow, I really believe that, like, the right people come into your life at the right time. And that's what it made me think of too with you, Molly, is like, at the right time, you had the flexibility, the right client to
Mhm.
then be there for this person that truly needed you. So I'm really grateful you shared that story with us. I did tear up because I cry all the time.
Yeah, I know. I
I am
know.
like the most emotional person you will ever meet.
Mhm. I love being able to look back and see, like, oh, this is why this happened and this didn't happen. And here's kind of how, like, what it all
Yeah.
meant and what it all led to and why it needs to be that way. But you asked what I'm working on now or who my clients are now. I'm actually on a total pause with other client work. I've been working hard on my own project, creating my own digital products, a couple of courses that I'm getting ready to start pre-sale for the first one, like in the next day or two. I'm really excited about that.
Are you doing any emails along with these sales?
Yeah, I'll explain what it's about in a second. But after having done email projects for other people, I realized like, okay, this is the piece that I didn't, know before that could make this idea that I had that I didn't know what sort of format I wanted it to take, really learning the back end of email is the gap I needed to be able to bridge to do what I want to do with it as a digital product. Yeah, I it's been cool to like, okay, I learned all this stuff working for other people, making money while I learned it, and now I can use it to start this whole new thing on my own.
That's
So,
amazing, and that's exciting. When you are launching something new like that, it's so easy to feel like you have to be social media, you have to do all these channels, but really if you just, target in on your emails and you're able to take the skills that you've learned and apply them there, the sky is the limit.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, so it's a couple of courses related to multi-generational living. The first one is called Before You Say Yes, and it's kind of a mini course that goes through like the 9 essential questions that families need to answer before they decide if they should really live together. And then the second course is bigger for people who have already made that choice to live together, about the most important topics that come up about, communication and finances and parenting and shared space and all of that kind of thing. So it's been fun to work on. I've lived in a multi-generational home for the last 12 years. And so have a lot of experience figuring out what works, what doesn't, how it works, and seen a lot of other families take their own path through this kind of situation. And yeah, so I'm really excited to launch it. So it's just felt empowering to be able to use the skills I've learned really since the very beginning of the copywriting journey to piece them together for my own purposes, not just to support other brands.
Those courses sound amazing. I feel like that is something that we absolutely need more guidance in, right? I mean, it's the foundation of our life starts, I feel like, with our home life. Everything kind of goes out from there, how we're managing things, how we're communicating, like you said, with your significant other, with that all kind of bleeds out into the rest of your life. So to be able to offer some guidance and support and encouragement that way is it's really exciting. I love that. I actually have several friends that live in kind of multi-generational home that I would love to share this with because I think they would be super excited for some kind of, encouragement there. It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And it's something that feel like I wind up saying a lot is that it makes sense, but making sense doesn't make it simple. And there's so much to navigate for any family. But as I was working on my course and kind of getting stuck in like analysis paralysis and feeling like, I really, can I really do this? Am I really ready? Do I need to, maybe I just need to learn a couple more things. Maybe I just need to whatever. So I was on this Amy Porterfield webinar, and because I thought like, well, maybe I mean I knew she was going to pitch her course at the end, and I knew I wasn't going to take that course, but I just wanted to hear what she was going to present because I thought maybe it's going to bring up a few holes or a few things that I like. Oh, I actually need to
Mm.
think about this or whatever. So I was like on my walking pad, watching the webinar and thinking, realizing, like knowing in the back of my mind, like I'm just avoiding, I'm just procrastinating. Like I do know that I'm ready, but I just like really want to feel sure that I'm ready. And she's getting toward the end of the webinar and sharing client wins, clients of hers who have, become course creators. And one of the clients that she shared as a testimonial was that really wonderful client who I was just telling you I had done that big project for in the summer. And
Way.
I had done, a pretty substantial like email funnel for her and also just like some strategy support. And when her name and face popped up, like, I can do this. Like,
You're like, heck yeah, I can do this. I just did her stuff.
so
Oh.
anyway, that was a funny, I was like, okay, I need to be honest with myself. I'm just like, I can do this.
You're digging your heels in and dragging a little, and then you were
Yeah,
like, "Dang it,
for sure.
this is my
Yes.
sign." That's
Yeah,
exciting though. That's such a small world. Like, you would never expect, like, your client to pop up on something
I
like
know.
like
It was so funny.
so you just from there on out, you dove in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So I've been working for the last little while on that and ready to just get it out there.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing all that with us. That's
Oh, yeah, of
amazing.
course.
I want to share with anybody here that, is looking for kind of that encouragement and that community. How did the support in the community help you, along your path to get where you're at right now? Do you have any moments that were like, oh, I needed this?
Yeah, I think being able to just share wins and frustrations in the community is super helpful to read other people's comments who are sharing, I was stuck here, but then I found success doing this.
Like you're not alone, When I started my journey, even copywriting too, it's to know I wasn't alone and that like everybody out there wasn't killing it and like just, finding all this success immediately. Like there were other people's that had the mindset issues I had, or they struggled with, I struggled with how I viewed money for a little bit, especially being a single mom, like that scarcity mindset. What I love about our community is like when someone is feeling that way, we come alongside, but then there's encouragement to like move forward, not just
For
like
sure.
I've been in some communities where it's just like one negative thing after another where they're at, and there's like no encouragement there. Like even the people that are commenting, I'm like, this is a downer. Like I can't even be a part of this anymore because I am like super depressed when I just get off looking at this forum. And so I've had to like remove myself from some. So, when Audrey and I started the community, I just really, really hoped that it would turn into this like let's relate, but then let's like encourage each other. And so far I've seen some really beautiful moments in that. So I'm glad that you've been able to like feel that in the community.
Yeah, for sure. Because when someone's having a hard time, it's not like a wallowing situation or oh, me too. But I think because it's an encouraging group, people feel like if I share my struggle here, I will get the encouragement that I need to keep going. So, yeah, the
I love
community has been a great part, and the calls are, you know, fun and casual and just super helpful. And so that aspect has really made all the difference.
Yeah, well, we are so happy that you're inside of our community. I definitely think you should post in the community soon and share what you're up to. So many people like me, I know people who could use that, and we're a community that supports each other. So I know people would love to hear kind of what you're doing right now. My last question for you, just to kind of wrap things up. And I try to always end my calls like this, kind of encouraging other people because that's why we're here, right? At the end of the day, we created Inbox Academy to help people have that freedom that Audrey and I have and to come alongside them and to encourage them. So, if you could give any words of encouragement, and I would say specifically towards someone going through a very hard season in their life. So, whether it's a diagnosis, themselves or someone that they love, whether it's a, miscarriage, a loss of a job, like just this, so like, how would you, is there any words of encouragement that you would like to say to someone watching this that's maybe feeling that right now or they're in that season?
Yeah, I would say if you have that little spark of something of thinking this might be for me, I would say go for it because Inbox Academy is so easy to plug in the margins of your life. I mean, you could absolutely just go all in, you know, and focus on it full time, but it's very easy to fit into the margins of a day of a life. I have a busy full life and you can make it happen. I think there can be something healing in building a business where you really value what you're doing, you value your time and your skills, and you take the time to find clients to work with who are going to value you too, who you feel aligned with. There's a lot of meaning in even in the midst of something hard, being able to sort of turn to a work project that you feel really good about, that doesn't feel like a drain. It feels like maybe I'm struggling in this part of my life, or I'm going through this hard thing, and not to use work as an escape per se, but I can shift gears for a bit, do something that feels productive, that's helpful, that's earning an income, that's making a difference for my family. Um, that can be like a nice balance alongside a really hard season. So yeah, to someone who's having a hard going through something difficult, I would say it's not a it's not something that has to take up a full time schedule, and it's not something you can build it in a way that doesn't feel like a drain to you. It can feel like something that feeds you and supports sort of your own well being if you're intentional about it.
When I was a single mom with 2 kids and I had my moments to plug into my work, a lot of the clients I did, their actual work was changing lives and making difference in people's lives, and to know that, like, even though they never knew I was the girl behind it or, like, the words behind it, like, I was a part of changing other people's lives, like, while my life kind of felt like in shambles, that was very, like you said, very healing. So I love that you mentioned that. So, one last little thing. Do you have something small that you did, like, for your heart and your mind during that season? Um, or like something, a routine, something that you could say like to somebody struggling with that, like maybe try this and this could be something that, gives you peace or blesses you through this season. What I always did was for me, it was I did a gratitude journal in the morning, and that helped me to feel like it's so cliche. It was like, "Do a gratitude journal, go," and it's
Right.
like, "Okay, I get it." But I didn't just say things like, "I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for this." I, like, specifically picked 3 things every morning, and when I felt like everything was in shambles, I would be like, "I'm thankful that I have a cup of coffee in my hand this morning because last week I couldn't afford groceries." And it, like, changed the way I moved forward in my day. And then obviously for me, I'm strong in my faith, so prayer was really, really big for me. Spending time in prayer, spending time like outside of myself and like just centering myself was a big thing for me. So that's kind of how I cope through and still do cope through, right? As a single mom through my miscarriage. My sister passed away 2 years ago. And so all of those moments, and that's how I cope through that and come out of it in a healthy way. So I just didn't I know we're not counselors here, but if there's just
Yeah,
something from the heart that stood out to you in that time that you wanna encourage other people with?
I'm with you on the prayer piece. That's something that's important in my life. And you mentioned your sister passed away a couple of years ago. My brother passed away 5 years ago. And then this recent loss was sister in law. I think the biggest help for me day to day was just focusing on like what's right here in front of me right now. Like, who are the kids' faces who are in front of me, whether my kids or my nieces and nephews, what's right in front of me right now? Yeah, what is there to be thankful for? And the truth is, like, nobody knows what the future holds. You don't know when it will feel sort of like the world comes crashing down, but that ability to sort of stay present and live for like for this moment and what's good right now, right here, is just is really important because it can get too dark and overwhelming to sort of live into the future and all of the what ifs.
When we're in, like, a really bad season, we like you said, sometimes we go forward, and the fear is what can, like, hold us back in our business. It can hold us back in our personal life. It can keep us stuck in grief. It can start making us see all the horrible things in the world, but if we, like, refocus and reshift and we just, like you said, look at the beautiful things, it kinda helps us to let go of that fear and to heal and then to move forward. And then that gives you the ability to move forward in your business, your hobbies, the way you bless people and your family life and all of that. It's super important. So
Yeah, it does, and I think there's a bit of you know perspective shift, sort of to combine the personal and business. Like, why wouldn't I try? Like, if this seems interesting to me, or I have this idea, or this is something that could work, like, unless there's a really good reason, why not try? Like, you don't know. What are you gonna regret? My siblings and I started a culinary mushroom business during COVID, not long after my brother died, because it was like my husband and my brother wanted to be mushroom farmers, and I had been so like rolling my eyes at it for a couple of years. And then it was like everything kind of fell apart. And I was like, sure, let's be mushroom farmers. And
Let's
that's what we did
do
for
it.
2 years. And it was just like, I don't know, it's like, try anything. I don't know. Why not?
Life is too short. Let's have some fun. Let's try things. You also don't have to do the same thing for the rest of your life. It can be a
Yeah.
season and then, that kind of thing too. I love it. Mushroom farmers. That's a good one.
When I
Uh,
did the copywriting for the mushroom
of
farms.
course you did. Of course you did. And now I have to see it. So well, I'm so grateful that you jumped on here with me today. Is a very vulnerable one. A lot of you watching right now, you can all relate to this, and I hope it makes you feel a little less alone and you feel encouraged, especially when you come into those seasons of life that feel really hard. And yes, so hopefully you feel encouraged. And I'm so grateful, Molly, that you jumped on here with me and you opened up so much with me. I just love getting to know you. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. It was so good to spend the morning with you.
And if you guys want to watch more videos like this, just be sure to hit that subscribe button and we will see you soon. All right. Bye, guys.